So I had a significant moment while dreaming last night. In the middle of my dreaming, I realized that something that had come up related to an event in my life. So I kind of half woke up, with this. And I realized that what had come up was an old event that I had regrets about. And I guess it was coming up trying to find a way of expressing itself, trying to find a way to speak. And I think I realized this at some level, and it started connecting to other events in my life that I had regrets about. So I thought this morning that I would do some work clearing myself of regrets like this. And I thought this would be a good exercise for all of us, because I think we're all walking around carrying regrets. And sometimes those regrets involve shame, embarrassment, and pain. And we're carrying all of these things around as if we have to carry them all of our lives. It's like a sack of heavy rocks that we're carrying around, thinking that we can't do anything other than carry them around. But we can release them. We can release them because we know that these things that have happened are not in alignment with our true selves, that they're not in alignment with the divine light that's within us. And so it's time to let go of all of these regrets, to release them, so that we're not giving energy away to the past, that we can then focus our energy in the present and being totally present as what we are in our true selves. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to set space. And then we're going to create a bubble in which we'll put all of the regrets and the feelings of pain and shame that go with them, all of our memories of these events into this bubble. And then we're going to use an Antares sphere of oneness around that bubble to dissolve that bubble and dissolve all the content of what's there, to dissolve the energy of our regrets, to put those things in a context of oneness where we can't hold on to those regrets anymore. How does that sound? Okay, you with me? So the first thing we need to do together is set space. And I'm going to do this the way I usually do, by calling an Antares sphere of oneness around myself. I invite you to do the same, or to set space in whatever way is most meaningful to you. But right now, what I do is I ask for an Antares sphere of oneness to be placed all around and through me. I ask for an Antares sphere of oneness all around and through me. I ask for an Antares sphere of oneness all around and through me. And by this, I dedicate myself to the oneness of all things, to moving myself into the consciousness of oneness, to align myself with the highest endeavor that I can understand. Okay. Now I'm going to invite you to close your eyes. I'll keep my eyes open. And what I would like you to do is to envision that in front of you, floating in front of you, right in front of you, is a bubble. And it's a bubble that has a thin boundary that contains a limited reality. And place your hands around that bubble with your palms facing inward. And ask that into that bubble, from your hands, we send all of the regrets that you hold about things that have happened in your life. Things that you've done that have caused pain or suffering to others. things that you regret, whether you intentionally caused them or accidentally caused them. However it is, those things from which you feel regret and pain, and maybe you feel the energy coming from your heart, flowing out from your heart, the pain you hold around your heart through your hands into this bubble. And what we're doing is we're creating a bubble full of regrets, sorrow, pain, for all those things we've done, all those things we've done that we wish we hadn't done. And you can think about events in your life that trigger this feeling. And when you think of an event that comes forward, ask that all of its images and all of the memory of it be placed into this bubble, into that little limited reality in which that event made sense as suffering or made sense as a mistake. All your belief systems about how you've caused suffering and pain, all of that into this bubble, the limited reality of all of our regrets. To let them go. Maybe some of these are from early in your childhood. Maybe some of these are from your teenage years. Maybe some of these are regrets you have from being a young adult. All those times you were growing and learning, and it was so easy to make mistakes. Maybe some of these are things you haven't thought about for many, many years, but you've been carrying around the memories. Bring it all forward, place inside the bubble. These things that seem so real, that seem so clear, that seem so obvious that there was fault, there was blame, that there was something that happened that was wrong. These things that seem so obvious. They're all part of a limited reality of holding on to regrets and blaming ourselves. A limited reality. We place that limited reality inside of this bubble. That's what the bubble's for. For holding something that's in its very nature a limitation. And when you're ready, we ask for an entire sphere of oneness to be placed around that bubble. We expand our hands and hold around the first bubble an entire sphere of oneness that puts all of these things into a context of divine perspective to help us release and to help us understand from our limited perspective what the greater truth is of all of these events in our lives. And so let's ask for an entire sphere of purity to be placed around our bubble. An entire sphere of purity. An entire sphere of purity. And it interacts with everything inside the bubble. To start clearing away everything that's not in alignment with our true selves. Everything that really isn't part of us. Clearing away, purifying, reducing these energies down to their pure form. We now ask for an Antari sphere of balance to be placed around the bubble. An Antari sphere of balance. An Antari sphere of balance so that everything that was out of balance, everything that happened because of things being out of balance, all of that is brought back into balance. If there was anger because of imbalances, we reverse the anger by bringing things into balance. To change the very nature of the energy of these events. And we ask for an Antari sphere of clarity to be placed around our bubble. An Antari sphere of clarity, which brings a multidimensional perspective to everything that happened. And probably everything that happened there is something that we understood or took in strictly in terms of three-dimensional reality, not understanding that we're multidimensional beings and that everyone else is a multidimensional being. And there's some other levels of meaning. There's other levels at which things are taking place. To understand that from a greater spiritual perspective, this was all part of a greater learning, a greater development, part of our evolution. And maybe also to understand that it wasn't just us as individuals. It was human beings as collective people, having a collective consciousness, working through their issues and working through, how they understand themselves, that we were part of that. To see that we were just part of a greater unfolding wave. And finally, we ask for an Antari sphere of harmony to be placed around us and placed around our bubble. We ask for the Antari sphere of harmony to be placed around our bubble. Antari sphere of harmony be placed around our bubble. And by this, we remove all separations. In every way that we understood these events in terms of some other and ourselves who were separated from one another. Those separations dissolve away to understand that we're all in this together. We're all of the same energy. We're all of the same divine light. And that nothing essential, nothing that's real, nothing that's eternal could have been damaged or hurt. And maybe you can let these Antari spheres to work around the bubble. Until it feels like the contents of the bubble have been neutralized and transformed into something else. They've been transformed into knowledge. And maybe we've gained some wisdom that we can carry forward in our lives. but also to liberate ourselves so that whatever's been reduced here, whatever's been dissolved away, it's something we don't have to carry around with us in our lives. We can let go of it and move on, to use the lessons to live a better life. And when you're ready, you can relax your hands and open your eyes. And know that the kinds of limitations, the kinds of energies that we held inside the bubble cannot coexist with an Antari sphere of oneness. That anytime we take these things that are the limitations in our lives and we hold them up in the context of the greater oneness of all things, then these limitations dissolve away. And that is a path for liberating ourselves and becoming beings who are open to much greater freedom in our lives. So, wishing you love and light.